Welcome to the American Institute of Extended Studies, the ultimate guide to academic writing. Let's get right into our presentation. I'm Leanne Pond, MBA, and I'm happy to lead you through this topic today. Students struggle with academic writing rules. Mastering them takes longer than writing the paper sometimes. But when the conventions become a normal state of things, the process becomes faster and easier than before. The less you think about the form, the more time you have to think about the contents. When it comes to the formatting of a research paper, it's different depending on which style guide you're following. In addition to citations, APA, MLA, and Chicago provide format guidelines for things like font choices, page layout, format of headings, and formatting of the reference page. This webinar will provide you with a quick set of writing rules to follow. This tried and tested guide uses a unique and easy to follow grid-based system. Packed with advice on understanding both big and little common errors made in academic writing, it helps you identify patterns in your own writing and demonstrates how to reshape or reevaluate them and raise your writing game in any academic context. In this recorded webinar, we'll go over the following: basic writing rules, doing your research, and starting your text. Academic writing is a formal style of writing used in universities and scholarly publications. You'll encounter it in journal articles and books on academic topics, and you'll be expected to write your essays, research papers, and dissertation in academic style. Academic writing follows the same writing process as other types of texts, but it has specific conventions in terms of content, structure, and style. When writing an academic paper, you have to remember that it's formal and unbiased, clear and precise, focused and well-structured, well-sourced, and lastly, correct and consistent. Don't make it personal and long-winded. There are different types of academic writing. Academics mostly write texts intended for publication, such as journal articles, reports, books, and chapters in edited collections. For students, the most common types of academic writing are assignments such as an essay, which is fairly short, self-contained argument, often using sources from a class in response to a question provided by an instructor. A research paper, which is a more in-depth investigation based on independent research, often in response to a question chosen by the student. It can also be a thesis or a dissertation, which is a large final research project undertaken at the end of a degree, usually on the topic of the student's choice. There could be a research proposal, which is an outline of a potential topic and a plan for a future dissertation or research project. And finally, a literature review, which is a critical synthesis of existing research on a topic, usually written in order to inform the approach of a new piece of research. Different fields of study have different priorities in terms of the writing they produce. For example, in scientific writing, it's crucial to clearly and accurately report methods and results. In the humanities, the focus is on constructing convincing arguments through the use of textual evidence. However, all academic writing shares certain key principles intended to help convey information as effectively as possible. Academic writing is not personal, long-winded, emotive, or grandiose. For the sake of time today, we will discuss how to write a research paper. Let's get started. A research paper is a piece of academic writing that provides analysis, interpretation, and argument based on in-depth, independent research. Research papers are similar to academic essays, but they're usually longer and more detailed assignments. They're designed to assess not only your writing skills, but also your skills in scholarly research. Writing a research paper requires you to demonstrate a strong knowledge of your topic, engage with a variety of sources, and make an original contribution to the debate. So, what is the first step you take when writing the paper? First, you have to understand the assignment. Completing a research paper successfully means accomplishing the specific tasks set out for you. Before you start, make sure you thoroughly understand the assignment task sheet. Read it carefully, looking for anything confusing you might need to clarify with your professor. Identify the assignment goal, deadline, length specifications, formatting, and submission method. Make a bulleted list of the key points, then go back and cross completed items off as you're writing. And carefully research your time frame and word limit. Be realistic and plan enough time to research, write, and edit. Then choose a research paper topic. There are many ways to generate an idea for a research paper, from brainstorming with pen and paper to talking it through with a fellow student or professor. You can try free writing, which involves taking a broad topic and writing continuously for 2 or 3 minutes to identify absolutely anything relevant that could be interesting. You can also gain inspiration from other research. The discussion or recommendation sections of research papers often include ideas for other specific topics that require further examination. Once you have a broad subject area, narrow it down to choose a topic that interests you, that meets the criteria of your assignment, and is possible to research. Aim for ideas that are both original and specific. Once you pick a topic and understand the assignment, now it's time for preliminary research. Note any discussions that seem important to the topic and try to find an issue that you can focus your paper around. Use a variety of sources, including journals, books, and reliable websites to ensure that you don't miss anything glaring. Do not only verify the ideas that you have in mind, but look for sources that contradict your point of view. Is there anything people seem to overlook in the sources you research? Are there any heated debates you can address? Do you have a unique take on your topic? And have there been some recent developments that build on the existing research? In this stage, you might find it helpful to formulate some research questions to help guide you. To write research questions, try to finish the following sentence. I want to know how. I want to know what. I want to know why. After you collect your evidence and questions, develop a thesis statement. A thesis statement is a statement of your central argument. It establishes the purpose and position of your paper. If you started with a research question, the thesis statement should answer it. It should also show what evidence and reasoning you'll use to support that answer. The thesis statement should be concise, contentious, and coherent. That means it should briefly summarize your argument in a sentence or two, make a claim that requires further evidence or analysis, and make a coherent point that relates to every part of your paper. You'll probably revise and refine the thesis statement as you do more research, but it can serve as a guide throughout the writing process. Every paragraph should aim to support and develop this central claim. Lastly, create an outline and start your paper. We'll discuss research paper outlines in the slides to come, but first let's talk about plagiarism and citation. Plagiarism means using someone else's words or ideas without properly crediting the original author. Sometimes plagiarism involves deliberately stealing someone's work, but often it happens accidentally through carelessness or forgetfulness. When you write an academic paper, you build upon the work of others and you use various sources for information and evidence. To avoid plagiarism, you need to correctly incorporate these sources into your text. Follow these 4 steps to ensure your paper is free from plagiarism. 1. Keep track of the sources that you consult in your research. 2. Paraphrase or quote from your sources and add your own ideas to that. 3. Credit the original author in an in-text citation and reference list. 4. Use a plagiarism checker before you submit your paper. Plagiarism can have serious consequences, so make sure you follow these steps for every paper you write. Keep track of the sources you consult in your research. This means while you're doing research and taking notes for your paper, make sure to record the source of each piece of information. One way that students commit plagiarism is by simply forgetting where an idea came from and unintentionally presenting it as their own. You can easily avoid this pitfall by keeping your notes organized and compiling a list of citations as you go. Keep track of every source you consult. That includes not only books and journal articles, but also things like websites, magazine articles, and videos. Then you can easily go back and check where you found a phrase, fact, or idea that you want to use in your paper. Paraphrase or quote from your sources and add your own ideas. That means while writing your paper, if you want to share an idea or a piece of information from a source, you must either paraphrase or quote the original text. Quoting means copying a piece of text word for word. The copied text must be introduced in your own words, enclosed in quotation marks, and correctly attributed to the original author. Paraphrasing means using your own words to explain something from a source. It allows you to give only the most important information from a passage. To avoid plagiarism when paraphrasing, you need to make sure that your text isn't too similar to the original. In general, paraphrasing is better than quoting, especially for longer passages. It shows that you have fully understood the meaning of the original text and ensures that your own voice is dominant in your paper. Citing the original source. That means that every time you quote or paraphrase, you must include an in-text citation or a footnote citation that identifies the original author. It often also includes the publication year and a page number. Each in-text citation must correspond to a full reference in the reference list or bibliography at the end of your paper. This details exactly where the information came from, allowing your readers to locate the source for themselves. There are many different citation styles, and each one has its own rules for citing. Some of the most common include APA, MLA, and Chicago style. The most important thing is to apply one style consistently throughout the text. Use a plagiarism checker before you submit. That means that most universities use plagiarism checkers to detect plagiarism in student papers. This technology scans your document, compares it to a huge database of publications and websites, and highlights passages that are overly similar to other texts. You can use a plagiarism checker yourself before submitting your paper. This allows you to identify any parts where you've forgotten a citation, left out quotation marks, or included a paraphrase that's too close to the original text. Then you can follow the steps above to easily fix any instances of potential plagiarism. There are differences in accuracy and safety between plagiarism checkers. There are paid options and free options. Do some research online to find the best one. Use this checklist to make sure your writing is free from plagiarism. When using someone else's exact words, I have properly formatted them as a quote. Formatted them as a quote. When using someone else's ideas, I have properly paraphrased, expressing the idea completely in my own words. I have included an in-text citation every time I use words, ideas, or information from a source. Every source I cited is included in the reference list. I have consistently followed the rules of my required citation style. I have not committed self-plagiarism by using parts of a previous paper. I have used a reliable plagiarism checker as a final check. Now that you've avoided plagiarism, how do you cite correctly? For the sake of time, we'll only discuss the APA style here. APA style is widely used by students, researchers, and professionals in the social and behavioral sciences. There is an in-text citation and a reference page. In-text citations are brief references in the running text that direct readers to the reference entry at the end of the paper. You include them every time you quote or paraphrase someone else's ideas or words. An APA in-text citation consists of the author's last name and the year of publication, also known as the author date system. If you're citing a specific part of a source, you should also include a locator such as a page number or a timestamp. For example, parentheses, Smith, 2020, page 170. Parenthetical versus narrative citation. The in-text citation can take two forms, parenthetical and narrative. The parenthetical citation is, as an example, according to new research, ... Then the citation is in parentheses Smith, 2020. The narrative citation becomes part of your writing and would be an example, Smith, Smith, quotations 2020 notes that, and go ahead and talk about it. Multiple authors and corporate authors. The in-text citation changes slightly when a source has multiple authors or an organization as an author. Pay attention to punctuation and the use of the ampersand symbol. Missing information. When the author, publication date, or locator is unknown, use a source title if the author name is missing. Write N.D. when the date is missing. Omit the page number when there's no page number. APA references. APA references generally include information about the author, publication date, title, and source. Depending on the type of source, you may have to include extra information that helps your readers locate the source. Reference examples. Citing a source starts with choosing the correct reference format. Use a citation generator to learn more about the format for the most common source types. Pay close attention to punctuation, capitalization, and italicization. Formatting the APA reference page. On the reference page, you list all the sources that you've cited throughout the paper. Place the page right after the main body and before any appendices. On the first line of the page, write the section label, References, bold and centered. On the second line, start listing your references in alphabetical order. Apply these formatting guidelines to the APA reference page. Use double spacing, both within and between references. Use a hanging indent of 1/2 inch. Use a legible font such as Times New Roman 12 or Arial 11, and use the page number in the top right header. Which sources to include? On the reference page, you should only include sources that you have cited in the text with an in-text citation. You should not include references to personal communication that your reader can't access, such as emails, phone conversations, or private online material. A research paper outline is a useful tool to aid in the writing process, providing a structure to follow with all information to be included in the paper clearly organized. A quality outline can make your writing a research paper more efficient by helping to organize your thoughts, understand the flow of information and how the ideas are related, and ensure nothing is forgotten. Follow these steps to start your research paper outline. 1. Decide on the subject of the paper. 2. Write down all the ideas you want to include or discuss. 3. Organize related ideas into subgroups. 4. Arrange your ideas into a hierarchy. What should the reader learn first? What's the most important? Which idea will help end your paper most effectively? 5. Create effective headings and subheadings. 6. Format the outline in either alphanumeric, full sentence, or decimal format. Every research paper needs an introduction. This is where you present the background and the context for the rest of your article. Craft a strong opening sentence that will engage your reader. Just because you're writing an academic research paper doesn't mean you have to be dry and boring. Explain the purpose of your paper and how you plan to approach the topic. Is this a factual report, an analysis, a persuasive piece? Describe how you've organized your approach to the topic. Conclude the introductory paragraph with your thesis statement. In an introductory paragraph, you have to set the context, provide general information about the main idea, explain the situation so the reader can make sense of the topic and the claims that you make and support. State why the main idea is important. Tell the reader why he or she should care and keep reading. Your goal is to create a compelling, clear, and convincing essay that people will want to read and act upon. State your thesis or your claim. Compose a sentence or two stating the position you'll support with logos, sound reasoning, such as induction and deduction, pathos, balanced emotional appeal, and ethos, author credibility. Then write the body paragraphs where your outline will come in handy. As you're writing, remember that your outline isn't meant to be a prison. It's a guideline to keep you on track. Your paper may evolve, so keep it fluid, but do remember to stay focused on your thesis statement and on proving your points. Don't let your sources organize your paper. Organize first and use your sources as they become relevant. Consider the rule of 3. Find supporting arguments for each point you make and present a strong point first, followed by an even stronger one, and then finish with your strongest point. Your last paragraph is the conclusion. Most research papers conclude with the restated thesis statement. Present your thesis again, but reword it. Briefly summarize the points you've made. Take a moment to explain why you believe those points support your case. And if your research is inconclusive, take a moment to point out why you believe this topic bears further research. You always want to submit an excellent research paper for publication in your desired journal. And the reason is obvious. Your research paper is the only medium to convey your hard work to the readers. Whether it's an abstract, a research paper, a research proposal, or a thesis, the way you present the data and your style of writing will speak volumes about you. Since it's so significant to submit a well-written research paper, you can't take the process of writing in a light fashion. So here are the tips that will ease the complicated process of academic writing. The do's. Communicate your ideas clearly and precisely. You're telling the readers about a novel research and not stories about your work. Always verify the accuracy and correctness of the data you present. Make sure that whatever information you present, the readers are able to form a right and thorough conception of the topic in all its aspects. Perform a thorough literature research for trustworthy and most up-to-date information. Provide solid evidence and sufficient supporting arguments in favor of your research findings. Write your paper with only details about the research work. Cite your references appropriately. Mark your notes to remember where you took the information from. Find a reliable source for your citations. Proofread the paper several times. Ask for the help of your friends, colleagues, or professional editors in proofreading and editing your paper. The don'ts. Do not misrepresent any information in the paper. Be honest with the readers. Don't include anything that doesn't answer the questions or solve the problems that you wanted to with your research. Don't add any unnecessary details. Keep it relevant and to the point. Don't give incomplete or absurd reasons for doing your research. Don't exceed the recommended word limit. This shows that you don't respect the guidelines of the journal. Don't make too many generalizations in the paper. Have your own voice writing the paper. A paper full of overviews gives an impression that you have nothing to say. Don't write for the sake of writing. Make sure that each of your findings support the cause. Don't forget to reference any supporting material or related research by other prominent researchers. Don't cite Wikipedia as a reference source. Don't use other people's work without rephrasing the sentences. Following these tips won't only ease the process of writing the research paper manuscript, but also will ensure that you follow the ethics of academic writing with stringency. Key takeaways. Make sure you allow time to revise and edit after you've completed your first draft. This part of the process is about much more than just fixing typos or adding and subtracting commas. Here's a handy checklist to help you make sure your paper is on point. Developmental edit. Is your thesis statement clear and concise? Is your paper well organized and does it flow from beginning to end with logical transitions? Do your ideas follow a logical sequence in each paragraph? Have you used concrete details and facts and avoided generalizations? Do your arguments support and prove your thesis? Have you avoided repetition? Are your sources properly cited? Have you checked for accidental plagiarism? Line edit. Is your language clear and specific? Do your sentences flow smoothly and clearly? Here's a hint. Read your paper out loud to help you catch any syntax problems. Have you avoided filler words and phrases? And have you checked for proper grammar, spelling, and punctuation? Thorough research, thoughtful organization and presentation, and attention to detail in your development and final line edit will help you succeed in crafting a winning research paper. Thank you for attending our webinar. Follow American Institute of Extended Studies on LinkedIn and Facebook.